we've been going to, Vic and I, and our developing world have been going to South Africa since 1975. We were there December and January, December 1975 and January 1976. We could feel the rebellion escalate. We could feel it coming, and it came in June 16th of 1976, when the students rebelled, when the government said, the black students said, we don't know Afrikaans and our teachers don't know Afrikaans. We cannot study science and math in Afrikaans. And that's what the government was demanding. You probably know the picture of the child who's being carried in an older child's arms, the first one who was shot down. This has a parallel in Palestine. The South Africa that we got to know under apartheid is similar to, but not exactly the same as, the apartheid that we got to know a year ago last August. Apartheid means apartness or separateness. I'm going to butcher the Hebrew hafrada, which is what Israel calls their separation wall. Same word, separation. It's exactly the same row. This is no surprise, because Ariel Sharon went to South Africa to find out how they made their system work. So they copied a lot of it. So, it's not a surprise. In both countries, they have IDs. In South Africa, it was before technology. So a passbook was the ID. It could be up to 37 pages, all with official stamps of where you have the right to live, where you have the right to work, where you have the right to bring a family member, and all of these things. And if you lose your job, then you have to get it restamped when you get a job somewhere else. Very complicated. Okay, same thing in Palestine, only HP has devised the technological little card. So everything is on this little card. Everybody in Israel has a card. Everybody in Palestine has a card. Tourists get a card. Their passport isn't enough. They also get this little thing that's made by HP. And if you are moving around, you need that. Everybody needs it. Okay. In South Africa, there were townships. There's no exact parallel to a South African black township in Palestine. There are Palestinian cities and towns and villages. The Bantustans are so-called homelands, the rural areas in South Africa, didn't have walls around them because South Africa's huge. And they didn't need to keep those people separate, because if they came to white populated areas, they had to show a pass to show that they had permission to be there. So that's how it worked. Townships had walls, but they weren't 35 feet high and hugely thick like they are in Palestine and Israel. But there was only one entrance, for example, to Soweto. There was only one entrance into Khayelitsha. There was only one entrance to Mitchell's Plain, one entrance to Alexandria. So that they could stop people right there. Okay. But the rationale, theoretically, was to keep people separate. Demolition is something we saw going on. Many homes are just being occupied. People come home in the afternoon, and there's another family there. And there's no recourse. We spoke with a family that was living with relatives of theirs across the way. The grandmother said, "We're wasting our time talking to you. The only people that can help change this and let us get back our homes is your Congress. And you can't make your Congress do anything." It was hard to look her in the eye and say, "We can try." Demolition in South Africa is the same as it is in Palestine. Meadowlands is a whole new, it was demolished. Sophia Town was demolished. District 6 in Cape Town was demolished. Nothing left. That's what's happening in Palestine as well. Intermarriage was against the law in South Africa. We have friends who have mixed marriages. They were in prison for it in South Africa. It's not against the law in Israel and Palestine, except that if somebody lives in the West Bank, and the person whom, the wife, for instance, is living in Israel, is a Palestinian Israeli, they can't live together. So it might as well be against the law. Unfortunately, skin color is very important in both countries. The lighter the skin, the more privileges. In South Africa, black people were needed for work. So it was blacks who worked the mines, blacks who were in the factories, blacks who were doing the work on the huge farms. In Israel, they don't want the workers. Many, many people said to us, what they want is to get us, Palestinians said, what they want is to get us so harassed that we'll leave. They want us gone. So that's the difference. The arrest and imprisonment is the same. You could be detained and arrested, and they could keep you, I can't remember in South Africa whether it was 30 days or something like that. You could step outside being released, and this happened to Albie Sachs, I know. And as soon as he stepped outside, they rearrested him. That's going on in Palestine too. And it's a military court and a military prison. And there is arbitrary administrative detention, no charge. That went on in South Africa too. In education and in upbringing, children are indoctrinated were indoctrinated in South Africa as whites, as well as in Palestine, that the other is not as intelligent, not as worthy, to be feared, to be shunned. And in South Africa, they had conscription into the army. They have that in Israel too. And because most of the population has been in the military, the reverence for the military is amazing. So for the people who speak out, who join the organization Breaking the Silence after they've been in the military and talk about what they had to do and how wrong it was, this takes a lot of courage. And a new person spoke out just yesterday or the day before. Really courageous, and those are the people that we should be applauding and supporting.